Welcome to the Big Biz Show. Taking care of business. You want fast-talking, hard-hitting discussions on business and finance? Maybe with a barroom slant and some really salty peanuts? We're not counting calories. We're counting cash. Before we get to the man with the financial plan, meet the money team. Costa, Mary, and Greg. Now, Captain Finance himself, Sully.
Yes, it is another beautiful day inside the Loft 100 studios because we are hanging out, bringing you the Big Biz Show. Hope everyone's having a great day. I'm Costa.
We're having a great time.
We're having a great day.
Big
Mary Godwin.
Things and the bobs and the boos and the big biz.
Mary Godwin in her beautiful forest green sweater. Greg Todoroff, always his black shirt.
Forest green. That is forest green, isn't it?
Forest green.
That's forest green.
It's forest green.
Are you willing it to be colder? It's pretty cold in the morning.
It's freezing in this studio. It's hot outside, but in here I need to dress.
I would
just our
sleep
souls.
in here. Yeah, well, that's true.
Yeah.
It's just the darkness of our
I'd take a
souls.
nap in here.
You said it,
every
not
day
me.
if I could.
Now that President-elect Donald Trump has won, there is
won.
There's enormous speculation on who's going to join the cabinet.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, traditionally speaking, historically speaking, there is a bipartisan. I'm not going to say nonpartisan, but there is a bipartisan cabinet where some of the jobs go in one color of blue, the other ones go to some color red.
Yeah.
Mostly it's going to be red, but hey, Howie, you're better than this than anybody because you'll be president someday, and we're funding his, and we're going to rule the world.
Love it. That's right.
Who do we got, guys? Like, we have like Attorney General, right? We got Fed Chair. We got what else do we have? Is there the only ones I care about are Fed Chair,
FBI Director.
FBI Director. Who are we looking at? Huh?
Yeah, so really the only bipartisan stuff that happens in the cabinet level in these really high agency positions are usually a Democrat will strongly consider a SecDev Republican or CIA or an FBI Republican candidate. You don't really see it going in the opposite direction too much or beyond that scope. You might have some assistant secretaries of state that are Republicans or Democrats with the opposite party, but that's about it. But thank you for entertaining me with this today because I've just been obsessed with the betting markets and how good they've been at predicting all this. And so when you look at it, you have really good betting odds on seeing some of the names from the last Trump administration and some.
So is the poly market actually predicting cabinet members now?
Oh yeah, you can bet on who's going to be the next Attorney General, who's going to be the next Secretary of Defense.
But if it's more accurate than polling, I want to know. So who are they saying Attorney General? Mike Lee again?
Attorney General Mike Lee, senator from Utah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Marco Rubio, Florida. He has not wanted to be a senator for like 8 years now.
So defense?
And so he's first in line for the Secretary of State job.
What about Pompeo? Pompeo's going to be back in business, right?
Yeah. Trump's old head of the CIA and then Secretary of Defense for a hot minute there. And then Treasury is interesting for the economy because it could be the former SEC secretary that's securities, not
Jay Clayton, right?
There,
Jay
Mike.
Clayton?
Jay Clayton.
Yeah.
And his biggest competitor, a little bit of a toss-up there, is the hedge fund giant, John Paulson.
Not to be confused with Pat Paulson from Laugh-In. Grateful. That'll bring you back to 1968. I think I just did everything.
Howie, what about Vivek Ramaswamy? Is there a position for him? Do you know?
Bless you.
He's not showing up for any of the cabinet level posts, but I think it's very likely that he, he's made billions on his own, and so he might want to go make some money and still be a political force, but he also could have a job in the White House. I could definitely see him in a chief strategist role, deputy chief of staff role.
I heard that RFK might be in some sort of health department spot.
FDA too.
Yeah, FDA.
Yeah, so he could have NIH. He could have.
Also agriculture. Agriculture. Right.
Well, agriculture is a little bit weird. He wants to clean up the food supply and take fluoride out of the water that are making the something homosexual. I forget. A freaking throb.
Stay there. Stay there, Howie. That's what I heard too. I want to make something heterosexual, so do I. There's that hot blonde in the cafeteria line. Big Biz Show. What the hell did you say? What did he say that we just had to edit out that you're not even listening?
Those beautiful tones you hear come from the Day Trader Trio. James, Trace, and Brian, as we get back to the Big Biz Show. Hope everybody is having a great day so far, wherever you're watching, wherever you're listening. We thank you for being along for the ride. Costa here, Marybird Godwin there. And we are always excited when this man is in studio with us, speaker, CEO, coach, consultant, chief launch officer, Mr. Dan Negroni. Check it all out, dannegroni.com. How are you?
I'm good. I'm so happy to be here.
It's always great to have you here.
It's so much fun when I'm here.
You brought in some reading material.
I brought in.
Do we have some homework that you want us to do?
My latest read.
Okay, what is it?
I want you to do homework, for next time. And look at the title, The Coddling of the American Mind.
Oh my, that can go so many ways.
So many ways.
Like hot
it is just rich for discussion, right?
Absolutely.
Hot topic.
Yeah, and I have 2 teens, and I would say there's so much coddling going on in the world with these younger generations, and I feel culpable. I feel guilty of doing some of the coddling because I don't know.
I'm sure you are.
Yes, I think that I am.
We certainly all are, and it's really difficult not to coddle. Like my son, one of my sons, my younger one, called me for coaching advice yesterday, and he's like, I have this situation, I won't speak what it is, but to embarrass him, but he's like this or this, and I just said, well, what do you think? And then he answered anyway. I said, well, it sounds like you have the answer yourself. I think that's a great decision. And I was like, wow, not only good coach, but good parent, because coaching, I know when I'm paid for it, I can do it that way. Mm-hmm. But when you're being a parent, right, you want to protect them from the road, not prepare them for the road.
Right.
And so
you got to do a little bit of both.
We got to prepare this next generation for the road. So what are we doing to coddle them?
Okay, I have a 252-month-old who lives in our house. And
wait, I got to do math. You didn't tell me how to do math.
21, soon to be 22.
Okay.
And there's certain. I run. It's hard for me to walk that tightrope because there's times like, okay, I'm not doing you a favor by doing it for you, and at the other times I'm like, okay, should I just do this because I know you've got a ton going on in your life, et cetera, et cetera. But at the same time, everyone's got a ton of things going on in their lives.
Well, we've been through unprecedented times. I mean, we have crazy politics going on.
That should be the word of the year.
We have, right? Unprecedented. And we have technology like crazy.
Yeah.
We had COVID. I mean, the world really changed, and anxiety and depression are at an all-time high.
Yep.
And we just want to protect everyone from all these ills. And guess what? Whatever hurts you makes you stronger, not weaker. And one of the untruths in this book is whatever hurts you makes you weaker. That's what we've been teaching our children. Instead of saying, oh, you got a person you can't deal with? Talk to them. Ask them a question. It's not, the other untruth in here is good versus evil. I mean, find a middle ground.
There's always the middle ground.
And how do we teach that? But we don't have time, we don't have patience, and we're so unnerved that it's hurting us.
Dan Negroni in studio with us, dannegroni.com. Please check out all that he has going on there. Okay, one of the things, Dan, that I personally have a huge problem with is, like right now, you and I are discussing and talking and conversing, and we're looking at each other in the eye, and I'm not sweating, I'm not looking around, I'm not trying to look down at my phone. The three of us are just shooting the S, as they say. That Gen Z, that younger generation, and I mentioned my son, I watch them interact with somebody who is older than they are, and I almost go back to the point of, okay, look them in the eye, introduce yourself, smile. This isn't, this isn't the warden.
Cues,
it's not somebody deciding whether you're going to get paroled or not. You're just talking to somebody.
To relax.
Relax.
Yeah.
Do they know how to relax?
I think that, the device time, this freneticism about information, what everyone else is doing, how great it looks on social media, it's a problem. And so one of the solutions in here is less screen time for young kids, and really trying to figure out how do we do less screen time and work with our imagination and learn how to connect and have a conversation and, do all those things. You're not wrong. I mean, they're so focused on what's outside instead of how do I figure out what's inside and what's in just with us right now.
Yeah.
I was driving about 7 teenagers up to Los Angeles last week, and it was
It's a lot.
quiet in my car because they were all on
their
their
headphones.
phones.
Yeah.
And I was like, let's play the guessing game. You know, let's play the sign.
Yeah.
And my daughter's like, no, I don't want. I mean, we do have lots of times good
Right.
conversations in the car, but I thought, you have all of your friends here. This was the time that we would gossip or
Yeah.
make up games
Yeah.
or sing songs or whatever. And part of the time they do it, but they just are in there. But they might even be playing games against each other,
Right.
or
Sitting-
Snapchatting
right.
each other
Right.
Yeah.
In the car. Yeah.
It's wild. And I thought, I don't need to push
I
though.
think you should put a rule.
I was weighing this in my
1/2
mind.
hour of talk time or whatever it is.
Yes.
I mean, that's what it is.
Yeah.
1/2 hour, or let's pick an issue and let's discuss it.
Right.
Yes, and we do that sometimes. It's just fascinating to me because I'm like, I'm trying to fight this thing that is, it's bigger than me.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, I can enforce that 1/2 hour, but the fact that they prefer that, it's just something we can't fight.
I think if you fought it a couple times, first of all, it's up to all of us to fight. So if we fight together, we may win. If we all try and fight alone and then we get kind of reticent and just, say, okay, well, let it happen, it's never going to work. But the best times you have with your kids, when you go vacation, you get a house somewhere remote and there is no TV or there is no phone service and you're on a lake and you're, they even whatever, if they're a certain age, whatever, they can drink. It's just fun.
Yeah.
We were just on a beach in South Carolina last week, and we have this is like the 13th year that we've gone with the same family, the same kids, whole 9 yards, and we have a tech-less day. One day out of the
Yeah.
trip.
So you're doing your part.
We are, but you talk about taking drugs away from a drug addict.
Yeah.
Watching these kids, come on, let's go play bocce ball on the beach. Let's go golf. Let's play ladder golf. Let's go swim. Let's.
Be cool if you had a day, maybe. I'm just thinking and
Yeah.
brainstorming when you said that, it came up to me, that you were focused on making someone else's day great. Like that was your only job for the day, that every person had to focus on making sure the other person had fun.
I love it.
Or, because that's really what it's about. It's to get them out of, this is not all about you, and we become so insular and so myopic with our brain that it plays tricks on us, right? It's not, when someone looks at you and they've had a bad day, it has zero to do with you, and you're like, what's wrong with me?
Right. It always comes
Nothing,
back.
right?
This reminds me something I saw on your Instagram feed, which I love your Instagram feed, and it was talking about not caring what people think and helping this generation not care. And you had something like there's 2 people that you need to care about.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Yeah, I think they were your 8-year-old self and your 80-year-old self.
Yep.
And it's kind of cool because for your 8-year-old self, you're telling, I made it. Whatever it was, whatever my wishes were, whatever my desires were, I had a path, I figured it out, I'm figuring it out, I got your back, I protect you, the whole emotional thing. And then for the 80-year-old self, it's just sitting and looking back and saying, did I do what I was meant to do in terms of providing value and impact to the rest of the world? Those are the 2 things you should care about, and they're very other focused. They're, what was my mark? What was my contribution?
Yes.
What were the things that I did that served other people or helped them?
And so if you're worrying about those thoughts, that's how you can course correct, but it's not how other people are experiencing you, because everyone's going to have their own opinion.
If you want to get better, sometimes you might have to ask people, hey, how did you experience me? Or was that, did
Especially in the
I hurt your
workplace.
feelings or whatever it was? But what it's saying is just be present enough to know that all you need to do is your best. And usually when you're doing your best, you're focused on what have I done as a contribution or impact. Right? What was my why?
To make myself proud. My 80-year self.
Myself proud, to make the world better, to make my family happier, to leave, to have coached people or mentored people or had great relationships or fun with other people, whatever it is.
Well, I like that because it makes it an inside job, because
it's always
that, right?
Yeah.
It is. I mean, that's the thing. It's like.
Well, that sounded dirty for a second.
No, but think about all the inside jobs. If there were more inside jobs, maybe how better the world would be.
Yeah.
In about 30 seconds, the way we're evolving as a society, and you mentioned the coddling of people, the tech and stuff, and the way it's affecting our lives. Do you ever see us getting back to a degree of normalcy, a course correction, or is this kind of like, this is kind of how it's going to go for a while?
Here's my view: is I hope we will get back to a new normal.
Okay.
My belief is that accelerated transformation is here. Today is the slowest day you'll ever have in your life. It will only get faster.
Beautiful way to put it.
So we have to make sure that we can bridge the gap between technology and people. There will always be a need for people, but we cannot let technology overtake the importance of people.
Check it out, dannegroni.com. Always appreciate the time, brother. Good to see you again.
Thank you.
Good to see you, Dan.
Pearls of wisdom.
Yes, sir.
From Mr. Dan Negroni. All right, Sully is back. When we get back, I'm going to bounce out. I've got an appointment at a pizza place. Sully will be back in as the Big Biz Show continues after this. Keep it right here.
Live from the Loft 100 studios in sunny San Diego, California. Big Biz Show's on the air. 125 million TV homes strong, nationwide, coast to coast, thanks to BizTV, Bloomberg, American Forces Radio Network, television services. Of course, YouTube American. Greg Cotteroff, our producer. Mary Bird Coddling, who's licking her wounds from Election Day. I'm Sully. I don't know where Costa's. Costa's birthday today, so I'm pretty sure it's...
He's out all week. He's not coming in.
I'm pretty sure Mike's not...
Is today the day? It's today, right?
Tomorrow.
The 13th.
But JB's birthday is today. Jason Banks. Look who's here. Nadia Colucci. Nadia the elbow. Nadia the lip. Nadia bag of donuts. Colucci is here. Of course, she's the founder of Colucci and Company Realty Group. Thanks for coming back to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Here's my question for you. People are talking...
Yeah.
Did you hear what she said?
In other words, bring it.
I keep hearing interest rates are going down. I keep hearing from all these real estate professionals that it's going to cause a boom because of a 25 basis point. I have never believed that if you cut interest rates by this much, it's going to cause a big change. Am I right or wrong?
I mean, I think we have history that shows that it does. I think people are really rate sensitive right now. There's like this magic mortgage number that I think people wait for, and it's got a 5 in front of it.
Yeah.
So last stat I saw, I think said 57% of home buyers are waiting for rates to drop. I don't know why, really? Because if you look at it, it's like 6 in one hand, half a dozen in the other, right? If you can borrow at a cheaper rate, then you're going to end up borrowing more because 50% of people are kind of waiting for that to happen. So it's going to bring like an influx to the market, then the prices are going to go up, but at least you're paying more money at a cheaper rate.
Right.
I think today is a sweet spot where you can negotiate a little bit better. There's a few less buyers, and a seller and buyer can really meet at a negotiating table and have some fun. Whereas normally that's not the case. If there's 15 offers, you got to take it with or without the roof and kitchen sink.
Well, but does the reason they move on such small increments, because obviously if the Fed changes their Fed fund rate, that's the discount window. That does not affect mortgage rates because mortgage rates follow the long bond.
Right.
But when it happens, it's not a big giant. It doesn't go from like 6 to 2. It goes from 6 to 5.75 or 5.99. What does that change in monthly payment? I mean,
1 point changes, I think, about 10% affordability. So
really?
So, but we had a little blip, a little decrease in August, and our sales went up through the roof in September. So I think it's psychological for a lot of people too, and I think, you know, this new wave of buyers is so sensitive from, you know, kind of coming up when it was like 3 and 4%.
Yeah, right.
So maybe they're a little spoiled and want that again. I mean, I'd love it again too,
right.
but I don't know that that's going to happen.
So history shows that reducing mortgage rates. I realize there's refinancing that goes on.
Sure. I'd rather refinance and have less buyers to compete with and secure a better, you know, term for myself with the seller than compete with a bunch of people and get what I get. Right?
Yeah, so nationally post-COVID, and keep in mind, folks, we're here in San Diego, and Nadia is an expert in San Diego, but I'm going to, a lot of the themes go nationally and in Southern California. since COVID, there's been tough inventory. And the supply demand would argue that if you have less homes, they're going to be more expensive. Does any of this change? Does this election change anything? Does the interest rates change anything on that? Do you think we'll see more inventory because of affordability, or the 10% increase in I can buy a bigger house for the same money type thing?
I think there's like a lock-in effect that sellers have. So I think sellers would sell their homes more, that 3 to 5 year kind of pattern, if you will. But I think they're holding on to that because they also have a low rate.
Right.
So they're like, well, shoot, if I sell at my 4%, I still have to go out and buy something at 6.8 right now. So people are kind of so I do think right now, uniquely in time, with everything going on in the new year, if we do see those rates drop, I think it's going to bombard the market because you're going to have sellers finally willing to sell, which might help a little bit of our inventory issue. But now you have all those buyers that have been waiting too. So it's not like we're going to have an influx of inventory. Typically here in Southern California, spring to September is kind of like our sweet spot to sell. It's like basically 3 months that you don't sell.
Right.
The interesting part of this here is because of COVID again. We saw people going home from their offices and such. I've always thought in the same vein that if we have EVs and self-driving vehicles someday, suddenly your workday changes. You leave the house at 8. You leave work at 3:30, if how long your commute is, right? And suddenly you start working and have better quality of life. I think that expands remote areas for more real estate if that happens. Right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, well, we've already kind of seen that here in San Diego, kind of those secondary markets, like typically like a Riverside, Temecula kind of area, and even east here, Escondido, different parts. And a lot of people have come down from different parts of California, come south, because they're like, if I can live anywhere and work from home, I want to go where the weather's better, or maybe I get a little more bang for my buck. I actually get a yard, or here we're kind of spoiled.
Are you seeing more people that look at houses in terms of having an office space in their home now?
Yeah.
Does that happen? Or broadcast space with everybody's got a podcast. Everybody needs to work from home. When people are looking at homes, are they looking at that extra bedroom as maybe not the kid's extra bedroom? Or?
Yeah, I think so. I think I see a lot of that. We talked about it last time too. Finding a property that has the potential for growth, like adding an ADU or a JADU that you can either rent out or you can use as a studio. You can use it as a multitude of things. So no, for sure.
ADU is accessory dwelling unit.
Yes.
Another house. What was the tax reason for that? Didn't they approve that you could build an ADU and not affect your property tax? Was that the original part of that thing, or did you hear? Because I remember you and I talked about this a number of times.
I don't remember what it was, but I remember talking about it.
It was a property tax issue that they were about to take away from us. So is our ADUs safe and sound for now?
I mean, from my understanding, yeah. I mean, I have one. Mine's a JADU, so mine's
what does that mean?
That's a junior ADU, which means it's attached to my property. Okay. So an ADU is separate.
So you have one piece of property, granny flat.
And I kind of cut off part of my house, and they have their own entrance and separate access to the.
Okay, wait a second. On that subject, what about the Airbnb thing, or the? I think that's what it's called, right?
Airbnb, yeah.
So people, is that another thing that people are looking at when they walk in? If they look, this is look at Rick DeVoe, one of our music managers here, makes a revenue model out of his freaking boat. I mean, everything he does, he moves out of the house during race season. He moves out of the house, so is that a piece of what people look at on the way in, though?
For sure, you have to have a permit in most cities. I would imagine that's throughout the nation too. It's not just automatic. There is, you do have to get a permit from the city, and then the city wants a little tax.
Yeah.
Usually.
But just a little.
Just a tiny.
Home buyers kind of worried moving into, it might have the opposite effect of moving into a neighborhood that has too many Airbnbs. And I know a neighborhood where they're just frustrated with all the properties that are building ADUs and having Airbnb, and they don't like all the visitors coming in.
Sure. I think that's why the cities are getting more involved to kind of regulate that, so that every block maybe has a couple, but there is a phone number available. They do notify you. So, noise ordinance is 10 p.m. usually. So if it's beyond that, whether it's your neighbor or their guest, you're going to call who you're going to call anyways. Okay. But JADUs, I believe they have different restrictions in different cities that the owner has to be on the property. Right. So that way I handle the problem if there's an issue.
The one last question before you let you out. Her name is Nadia Colucci. It is coluccico.com. We'll put it on our website, so you don't have to spell it. You can see it up there on the screen.
You can't spell it? It's so easy to spell.
Yeah, so it's 17 C's in it.
I was going to say, how many C's do we have?
COLUCCICO.com. Big Biz Show. We're back in a minute.
It is time once again for the Sports Biz Minute, brought to you by PrizePicks, largest daily fantasy platform out there in the world today. Sign up at prizepicks.com. We'll start off in baseball. The World Series matchup between the Dodgers and Yankees, featuring the two biggest stars in the sport going head-to-head, caused tremendous demand for tickets. Online ticket seller TickPick said the average ticket price for a game between the Yankees and Dodgers was a record $1,703 on the secondary market. The previous record was about $1,600 in 2016 when the Cubs ended their 108-year championship drought in a thrilling 7-game series against Cleveland. NFL news, in one of the latest examples of media networks battling for bragging rights, Fox Corporation said it has sold out of its advertising inventory for Super Bowl licks in February at record pricing. As part of the fiscal first quarter earnings report, the Fox Sports parent said its ad units are gone more than 3 months before the game. Specific figures have not been released, but sales activity around the game has surpassed a $7 million rate per 30 seconds of airtime. Finally, basketball. Forbes released its list of the most valuable NBA franchises, and the Golden State Warriors topped the list at $8.8 billion valuation. They are followed by the Knicks, the Los Angeles Lakers, Boston Celtics, and the LA Clippers to round out the top 5. I'm Mike Costa. This has been your Sports Biz Minute. Once again, it's brought to you by PrizePicks, largest daily fantasy platform out there today. Simply sign up at prizepicks.com. Once again, here's Sully. Live from the Loft 100 studios, the Big Biz Show rolling on. We are headquartered here in sunny Southern California, wherever you're watching or listening. Thank you. I'm Costa. That is Marybird Godwin. And of course, the man right there, the man with the plan, as they say, Sully.
You got it. We are brought to you by Prudential. Let Prudential be your rock for retirement. Also brought to you by Bayer Advanced, better science, better results. Starbucks Coffee. Heard of them before. Outback Steakhouse is owned by Bloomin' Brands.
Yep.
Who also owns Bonefish Grill. Fleming Steakhouse, but nothing like authentic Australian food.
The best.
I love going to England. Put another shrimp on the body. Of course, Taylor Guitars. Thank you, friends. Of course, this is your favorite president, Donald Trump. You love my gold sneakers. They're still talking about him. And now, invest in one of my Trump watches because it's Trump time.
Trump time.
It's Trump time.
Oh, my God.
Hey, Steve Phillips is a host of Major League Baseball Network Radio, the Leadoff Spot on Sirius. Of course, you can go to SiriusXM.com. But we're so thankful to have him on the air because I listen to. I'm such a baseball fan.
Oh yeah.
Enough about my Phillies and my Padres. What do you think about my Phillies and my Padres? Is what it comes down to. Steve joins us now, talking about what's happening post World Series, and of course, Mike Costa, a sports analyst of some sort. Steve, how are you, sir? Good to see you, man.
Listen, I'm great. Good to be with you guys.
I got to ask you, did I hear correctly that post-World Series, every Major League Baseball players whose lives are in the balance have to be decided like in 5 or 6 days post-World Series? Is that an accurate statement?
Well, they have to declare free agency, and so they generally, it's easy, right? They're at the end of their contracts. They've played 6 years or more with a certain franchise, and they can declare free agency. So that part's the easy part. But then they've got the entire winter to try to negotiate contracts and figure out what team they're going to go to and how much money they're going to make.
Dodgers become the first team to rally from 5-0 deficit. I love stuff like that. Talk about some of those things that you saw in this last World Series.
I mean, really, it was an extraordinary World Series. I mean, the ratings were off the chart. I mean, the highest ratings in about a decade, and the ratings in Japan were even more significant. So all of that was fantastic, right? When you have Shohei Ohtani, Yoshinobu Yamamoto, they were driving forces there in Japan. The Dodgers opening Japan next season again, and so certainly baseball marketing that team. But I think that we had superstars, right? We had we've never seen this before, where we had the AL AL MVP and Aaron Judge and the NL MVP and Shohei Ohtani. They both were the leaders in their respective leagues in home runs. For the first time ever, two guys with more than 50 home runs. You had Judge, who had arguably one of the best seasons ever for a right-handed hitter in the game. Ohtani did something nobody's ever done in a 50-50 season. We had the two best records in baseball, the two largest markets going at it. And quite honestly, it's good for baseball. I know people, sometimes don't like when the large markets and the team that spend money get in, but the large markets, the health of the large markets really feeds the health of the game. And baseball needs villains. And I think that when the large markets win, people tend to not like them. But yet when they come to your city, you all go out and watch them play.
So
like the Yankees and Dodgers draw more than anybody else when they go to the road cities. And so I thought it was a great postseason, and we had a lot of star power who stepped up big.
You mean they'll clear the streets in St. Louis when the Padres show up, Mike? Is that yeah.
Steve, I want to ask you about, do you think that the Yankees, it came down to the Yankees just totally choking, or was it the Dodgers rising to the occasion, or a little bit of both?
Yes, it's yes, right? It's both.
Yes,
I mean, to a degree. Now, I will say that, that Game 5 was a microcosm of the season where you've got this Dodger offense that's relentless, and the Yankees, who don't do little things right. They did the big things right. They hit a lot of home runs. They drove the ball a lot, but they didn't run the bases well. In fact, John Sterling, their broadcaster, the radio announcer, at one point said, the Yankees run the bases like drunks at one point.
It's like the Kalina men's softball team on Tuesday nights. It is.
Right. They are drunk, but the Yankees aren't, and they run the bases like drunks. They miss cutoff men. They didn't make plays defensively. They didn't cover first base. And those little things, when you're playing great teams, it's not just the big things, because the other good teams could do the big things too. It's the little things that separate. And it was that fifth inning where they gave up the 5-run lead, allowed the Dodgers to get back in the game, and at that point, it unfolded for the Yankees. And so, they blew it, but I give the Dodgers a lot of credit. And look, even if the Yankees had won that game, I still believe the Dodgers would have ended up winning the series as well.
Steve Phillips is the host of Major League Baseball, MLB Network Radio, the Leadoff Spot. Much has been made of the behavior of Dodger fans and Yankee fans of this thing. And, for example, and I heard this on your show, talk about the Dodger fans trashing LA after winning the World Series. Also, you covered those Yankee season ticket holders yanking the Mookie Betts fly ball. Is this something that we need to get used to in terms of, or is it just Philly fans we have to worry about?
So what we realize is not just Philly fans. And so I grew up in Detroit. And back in 1984, the Tigers won the World Series. And,
remember. Thanks.
Yeah,
you know what? I'm out. I'm leaving. Did he just mention the Padres Detroit World Series?
I didn't mention the Padres. I think you did.
Why would you?
I was trying not to. But Detroit, we torched the city.
Yeah.
We flipped cars.
Yep.
We had policemen on horses. The horses were, bucking, and it was chaos. And so I think, I don't know. I would think that you should act like you've won before when you've won a World Series. And look, I get in Boston if they make it crazy when they broke the curse in 2004. Yeah. The Cubs fans in 2016. But they actually behaved better than Dodgers fans did, better than Philly fans have, better than Tigers fans have. And so I think we just have to get used to that there's going to be chaos at some point.
Many of you, so you may be watching us across the country or maybe listening to us on American Forces Radio, so we use TV and radio at the same time, or you'd be watching us down in Mexico. But we broadcast out of San Diego. And if San Diego ever would have won a World Series, we'd go to bed at 9 versus 8.
Pretty much. Exactly. Steve, you mentioned Shohei Ohtani. He's going to have surgery on the shoulder. Is he? And we always love getting into the GOAT conversation because you can make an argument almost for any of the big names. Those enshrined in
no more than him, though. Come on.
It's in your estimation, and you've seen a lot of them. Is he the greatest you've ever seen?
Yes, I mean, there's nobody comparable.
Okay.
He's a unicorn. There's no two-way players. Even Babe Ruth didn't do what Shohei Ohtani is doing. So he had a season where he pitched most of the time. And remember, back then pitchers hit.
Yeah.
But he didn't really play in the field all that much. And then when he went to the field, he only pitched in like with the Yankees. I think he only pitched in like 3 or 4 games as a Yankee. Most of that pitching came as a member of the Red Sox. And so what Ohtani's doing is it can't be done. And what I'm worried about is his body has broken down twice, right? His elbow, he's had 2 Tommy John surgeries.
Yep.
And to me, that's his body saying, I can't do this. My body won't hold up doing it. And so now he hurt the left shoulder. He had surgery on it. They say he's going to be ready for opening day. Listen, be careful what you wish for. When he went to the Dodgers, he's now put himself in a position he's going to play an extra month into November or, and through October in the playoffs. That cuts down on a month worth of rest that he was getting as a member of the Angels. And so I think that his body and the recovery is going to be so critical. Now he's got a left shoulder. He's recovering from Tommy John surgery. He's going to have to get ready for the season. They say he's going to be ready for opening day. I don't know that he's going to be ready to pitch on opening day, but I think that they should slow it down.
Steve,
get him healthy for as many games as they can.
Is Dodger ownership going to have to eventually go to him and say, listen, pick one?
They signed him to be the two-way player. Okay. And, I think that they're going to have to work with him on that. But at some point, you can have a conversation where it becomes his idea that maybe it's not the best thing for me right now, and he should be a hitter. Like, if I chose one or the other, let him be a hitter. Because this guy
said the GM,
can rake.
You got to make it his idea as Steve's negotiating.
So smart.
Fantastic. Steve, we need to have you back over and over again if you're willing. Steve Phillips.
Happy to do it, guys.
Host at MLB Network Radio, the Leadoff Spot.
I like guys like him.
Let's bring up the Detroit Tigers in 19.
Oh, I know.
Didn't they do a movie called League of Their Own? Yeah, perfect. Thank you, buddy. I appreciate it.
The wounded just healed. We are in the Loft 100 studios in Southern California. Hope everybody's having a great day. Thanks for joining us here on the Big Biz Show. I'm Costa. She's Mary Bird Godwin. That's Greg Todoroff. Hi, everybody.
Hey, how's it going?
That's Sully. And, of course, the greatest in the business, the DTT. They traded trio.
They stole about your thunder.
Oh, did you? Oh, when did that happen? If you're just joining us, it was my birthday yesterday, actually. And Sully gave me a big box of Funyuns.
Well, that wasn't me. It was
Mary.
I took credit for it.
I got a cupcake. Greg gave me
all of it's gone, by the way.
Yeah, of Bako Bits, and apparently the band has lifted some of my Funyuns.
Well, the bit was this. Happy birthday, everybody's got a bag of Funyuns. Yeah. Is that fun? And then they ate their Funyuns. You weren't here. You were in New York. You were in Nuevo Yerko, or whatever you call it.
Nuevo York.
There you go. Hey, Andrew Simpson is the CEO of a company called HeartSciences. HSCS is their ticker symbol. HSCS, you can go to heartsciences.com. He's been a guest on the program before, and we had such a great response. We wanted to bring him back because they are transforming the early detection of heart disease through AI solutions. And what's interesting about that is we're seeing more and more biopharma companies, more and more gold in exploration, more and more even retail sales go through an ATI sort of format. And what it's doing, it's speeding up things in terms of business. But for healthcare, it's speeding up FDA approvals and such like that. So HeartSciences is bridging this diagnostic gap in cardiac care by providing this frontline solutions to assist in early detection. Here he is once again. His name's Andrew Simpson. Andrew, how are you, sir? Good to see you, man.
Good, Sully. Thanks for having me back.
Hey, listen, this is really exciting stuff because there doesn't currently exist in this world a low-cost frontline medical device that is effective at screening for heart disease. Am I correct in saying that?
You are correct.
Talk about that, because you got physicians that are obviously, since the beginning of time, facing a challenge on the number one killer of males and females in this world. Talk about this. What are you guys doing?
Okay, well, everybody's heard of somebody's had a heart attack unexpectedly or even died unexpectedly from a heart attack. And the big challenge in heart disease, why it's so expensive for the health system, why it's such a big killer of people, is there isn't a way for your frontline physician to kind of know whether you've got it. People get questionnaires like, are you overweight? Do you have a family history? But today, there isn't a test. So the ECG, or EKG as it's known in the US, people have seen that, but it's pretty poor today at picking up most forms of heart disease. But guess what? You apply advanced science, artificial intelligence to it, you can now make that device, this simple, lowly ECG, detect a broad range of heart disease, do it early, do it effectively, and that's going to change the dynamics of people discovering they've got heart disease through heart attacks to discovering it in primary care where they can do something about it.
So, Andrew, for most of us, it takes an adverse event for us to, obviously you get in to see a doctor, most likely in an emergency room setting, and that's when we find out we have heart disease?
Correct. And look, I was thinking about this before the call. Think of heart disease like walking towards a cliff edge. The bit of it you're going to really know is when you fall off the cliff.
Right.
That you have been walking towards that cliff for quite some time. So we're going to say, you're walking towards your cliff edge, stop, so you don't get to the point of falling down the 200-foot drop.
What's interesting here is you're talking about bridging the solutions. Let's talk about HeartSciences MyoVista, the device itself. Talk about what it does, where you are in the arc of the FDA story, and so on.
Yeah. So the device behind me is if I prepared earlier. So we have a device and we have a software-based solution. So the device is an ECG, works exactly the same way as an ECG, produces all today's ECG information, but embedded in that device is an AI algorithm that basically says whether you've got something going on with your heart. In addition to that, we're developing a software-based solution, so hospitals will be able to hook up their existing ECGs to have these algorithms. The device is going through the FDA process early next year, should be cleared, around the middle-ish next year. And then the software solution we would expect to be submitting next year as well. And the FDA themselves, they've already introduced a care pathway for this, so it's a lot more straightforward with them. The American Medical Association have granted CPT codes. And the kind of exciting news for us as a company last week is that it's been confirmed that CMS, or Medicare, Medicaid as it's known, is now going to actually start reimbursing against those codes. So that hospitals will actually use money or earn money straight away for using these products.
Hey, Andrew, I want to go into the risk for cardiovascular disease. And I was reading a stat that said that COVID-19, the pandemic, has increased the risk. Is this true? And is it because of people that had COVID are more at risk? Is it because of the vaccines or what is it? Can you talk about that a little bit?
I think there's the science people kind of get strung up. Is it the vaccine? Is it the virus itself? But I think there's no doubt that having had COVID-19, that's impacted cardiac function for quite a lot of people, or impacted their heart. And then you get some people who believe that the vaccine has also done that. But there's no doubt that it's increased cardiovascular risk.
I think what's interesting here, once again, the name of the company is HeartSciences, HSCS. iHeart is one of our networks that we appear on. Andrew Simpson, CEO of HeartSciences, HSCS. So where are you guys in the arc of the story in terms of FDA, Andrew?
The device will be going through the FDA in the early part of next year. The software solution probably the middle part of next year. We've had more meetings than I can shake a stick out with the FDA to get to this point. So we've finished all our patient recruitment for the device-based study. It's just a case of one final meeting with the FDA to confirm some stuff, and then we'll be going through the process of final validation and submission. So very close.
Good stuff.
He's Andrew Simpson, the CEO of HeartSciences, their ticker symbol HSCS. Great stuff there. I mean, Andrew, you get to the point where you can't use your Apple Watch anymore. You need something more substantive.
Oh,
yeah. Use it.
Thank you, Andrew. Appreciate it. Andrew Simpson. We'll have him back when we're back.
Absolutely. All right, more of the Big Buzz Show after this. Keep it here. And that will do it for us. We will see all of you next time. Adios.